One of the things that was surprising to us when we were watching beekeepers tend their bees is that um, beekeeping is an incredibly sensual experience in the sense that um, you're often overtaken by the sound of the bees. It can, when the bees are angry, they sort of buzz louder, and it just sort of really clamorous and in your ears. But sometimes the sound of the bees is really meditative, like a hum or a whir. I thought of it sometimes as like water in a stream. So bees can really cause people to calm down and to be in the presence of bees. And also in terms of like the embodied nature of beekeeping, the hive gives off this extraordinary smell. And one of the beekeepers that we interviewed, BJ, talked about the smell being like truffle oil, or she called it a good heady sex smell. So it's sort of like the pheromones of sex, like across species. And we smelled that smell, and sort of really got into this embodied space of the bees. And I think that's one of the reasons why when people go and they open up the hive, they'll sit. This one man, Eric, talked about bringing beers and sitting with his friends and having a couple of beers and just watching the bees come and go from the hives. So people really do have these intimate, embodied relationships with their bees that was really surprising to us.
And then one other thing that's really kind of an interesting finding from our book Buzz, which neither of us sort of anticipated, was the use of something called apitherapy, which is sometimes called bee venom therapy, where people actually purposely sting themselves with bees as a way of taking care of things like allergies, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, MS, other types of conditions. And so some of the beekeepers we interviewed actually would pick a worker bee, because the drones don't have stingers, and purposely figure out which one they thought was old, and then take her and kind of poke her on themselves to force her to sting them. And I remember one woman who had very bad arthritis in her hand saying she would do it every once in a while, and that once the swelling went down from the sting, she would feel that she could move her fingers better, and she would sort of thank the bee for her sacrifice, poke herself, and then send her off to die. And it was just very interesting that these people were working so hard to take care of this huge colony and simultaneously using them for assured death to make them feel better in the process of being able to use their hands to actually take care of the bees. So there's some kind of circular logic there in doing that. And apitherapy also has a following and other kinds of practices that we discuss in the book around the medical use of bees.